Now, we have one session left here, okay? We have a keynote and then a good roundtable. If you don't like this person, you cannot throw a drink at him. Is that fair? Just kidding, just kidding. All right, so we've had lots of conversations today, right? Around all different topics. And there's one, we talk about social media and social marketing, and it's just been so interesting to see how slow it, and then the recent buildup of actual action by CMOs. And I was invited down to IBM to be a blogger at one of their events, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months ago, and was just blown away by the expertise. I was supposedly a blogger, everyone else blew me away. But the expertise they had on how they influence people and things like that. So I've asked kind of the king of this topic to come and do 10, 15 minutes, and we're going to go right into a quick roundtable on that. So let me tell you about Ted Rubin before he comes in. So Ted, an author, a phenomenal book called Return on Relationship. It just really it has broken down better than anything else I've read this whole concept of how the importance of relationships in marketing, selling, and customer engagement stuff. A couple of things on Ted I'll bring about. We've known him for years. He was a CMO at ELF Cosmetics some years ago, and there was a Collective Bias. Speaks all over the world on the topic. And most recently in the Social Media Marketing magazine, he was voted the top, when he was collected by the top CMO on Twitter in the world, voted by the magazine. Number 13 on Forbes' top 50 social media power influencers. With that, on Return on Relationship, Ted Rubin, everybody. We'll get you a drink.
Guys, it's the first time I've spoken to a drunken audience, so maybe we can join this. So I'm going to drink along with you. And where's that guy who swore to me the minute I got up on stage, he'd have my clicker phone. Oh, there he is. All right, and what's it? Oh, paper delivery. Paper delivery. You guys ever see one of these things? Hold on a second. Anybody ever take it out of the bag anymore? Oh my God, it's the Wall Street Journal. Anybody here actually read this anymore in the morning? I don't know about you guys, but if you're not looking at social media in the morning, if you're not looking at Twitter, if you're not seeing what's happening in real time, this stuff was printed the night before. It's old news. And I don't know about you guys, but it piles up in my basket, and its days are numbered. I mean, magazines are still going to be around for a while, but newspapers, I mean, maybe the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, only because we're all so used to it. But the economics just don't work. So I like to talk about return on relationship. I talk about relationships being the new currency. And most of you guys in this room probably looking at me saying relationships have always been the currency. Except now, it's 24/7. It's the age of influence, where anybody can build a brand, affect change, and make a difference right from their bedroom. It's what keeps me up at night. My head's like a Twitter feed. I'm going to warn you guys about that right now. So I go off in different directions. I'm never really sure what I'm going to say once I get up here. So you got two choices. You can either let me go if you like the direction I'm going in, or you can pull me back to what I was talking about and maybe forgot to finish. So a little bit about myself. I got involved in digital in 1997. I joined a company called Yoyodyne, run by a guy that some of you guys are probably familiar with named Seth Godin. I'm talking really fast because Pete told me I only got 15 minutes. And I got a lot of stuff I want to get through. So just bear with me. So I moved up to New York to do this, and my family was still in Florida, and I made the critical mistake of moving in with my in-laws for a few weeks. Actually, it ended up being a few months. Any of you guys ever try to live with your in-laws? Well, mine are like the Costanzas. My ex-in-laws are like the Costanzas. So I got out of that house before anybody woke up in the morning. At 5:30 a.m., and I drove over to Yoyodyne, and I was one of the first guys there, and Seth is an early riser. So he was in his flip-flops, usually in a pair of shorts, walking around, and what he liked better than anything else was holding forth on the things he was thinking about. And I was with Seth when he first started talking about permission marketing. So I've been around this digital area back from the beginning. And you guys, anybody here remember when we called it new media? Right? Okay? Well, it wasn't new media. It was just old media in a new package. All we did back then was we took catalogs, we put them online, we called it e-commerce. We took magazines, we put them online, we called them online magazines. And really, up until recently, new media was nothing more than old media, new package as it evolved. But I call this the era of new media. Because anybody in this room is really a journalist. I mean, most of you people probably don't even realize that most of the time you're reading blogs and you're not even reading what we call traditional media and publications. So business is changing, and the framework is changing, and this thing's very sensitive. Okay. So here's the problem. Most of us are using social media in a way that isn't really what it's about. We're clicking buttons, we're making friends. Guess what? Facebook, they own the word friend. It's scary, but they do. When you think of the word friend, what do you think about now? Do you really think about your friends, or do you get the logo of Facebook in your head? And this first hit me a little bit about myself. I'm a divorced dad. I have 2 teenage daughters. I went through some really hard times keeping them in my life, and I had to rebuild my relationship with them. And I learned a lot about how to relate to people and how to market to people, because consumers are no different than our teenage daughters. We want to tell them shit, and they don't want to hear it. Right? And we want to tell them how to do it better than they're doing it already, and they don't want to know. So I've kind of delved into that with my daughters, and one day I'm sitting with them, and I realize that we're in the house all day, they've never left their room. And all I hear is voices coming out of the room, and I walk up in there, and my daughter's got 5 different things open. She's on Skype, she's on Twitter, she's on Facebook, she's watching YouTube, she's got a TV running, and she's doing her homework. Okay? And by the way, they can do that these days. It's amazing. Much more than we can. But I looked at them and I said, what are you guys doing? Don't you have any friends? And my daughter goes, sure. Look at this. I got 500 friends. So I say, okay, let's check this out. I go, well, who's that? I don't know. Well, who's that? Oh, I think she might know Susie or something like that. And what scared me isn't what most of you guys would think scared me. I trust my daughters. I don't have any problem with what they're doing online. What scared me is that everybody in this room is reacting the same way. If you're not doing it personally, you're doing it with your business, and you think clicking a button means making a friend. You think social is the relationship instead of just a facilitator. These are just flat platforms, people. Here's a key mistake being made. All you guys talk about, how do we get ROI from social? You get an ROI every day, you're just trying to measure it the wrong way. Because you're trying to measure it as a classical digital medium. It's not. It's a personal, one-to-one, reactive and interactive medium. And we're doing to it the same thing we did when we first went online, trying to measure online the same way we measured offline. And now we're trying to measure it the same way. And I mean, I'm as guilty as you guys are. I worked at Collective Bias up until a few months ago, and we were selling media, and I was trying to sell the relationship and the evergreen content, how it lives on, how it's there forever, and my partner would look at me and say, dude, they want to buy CPMs. Just fucking sell it to them. Because that's what you guys are doing. You're not taking advantage of what these mediums really mean. And what we've got to do in 2014 is take the word friend back and give it meaning again. Oh, I guess I pressed the wrong button. Oh, there we go. We've got to start thinking about our reputations and not our ranking. It's not what number you're at. Pete can say all day long that I'm number 13 on the social media influencers list of Forbes. It means nothing if nobody in this room cares about it. It means nothing if nobody's reading my content. We've got to think about connection, not network. Network is just a series of nodes. And I think everybody in here who is a real marketer in this room understands the power of words. I like to talk about community, not networks. I talk about continuing education, not training. I talk about doing for others without expectation of anything directly in return. That doesn't mean I don't want something in return. It means that we've got to start doing for people and knowing that it's going to come back to us. Everybody likes to do business more with someone they know and like than otherwise. And that's how you can add value with relationships. Return on relationships, simply put, is the value that's accrued by a person or brand due to nurturing a relationship. ROI is simple dollars and cents. ROR is about you and you and you. It's about people. It's about connection. It's about recommendations. It's about sharing. It's about trust. And it's about loyalty. I don't know how to go back, so I'll just go to that. A brand is what a business does. Thank you, guys. I don't have to read it. A brand is what a business does. A reputation is what people remember. It's your reputation that people are talking about. You've heard it in this room a lot about how we don't own the brand anymore. But it's more than just asking a couple of questions about listening every day. It's about not opening this up in the morning, but opening up Twitter. Anybody in this room who is not on social media or is not at least in there reading and searching and viewing it every single morning as a marketer is missing an amazing opportunity of hearing what's happening every morning and every day. Do you ever notice that news is first released on Twitter now? It's the first place to go. When someone says to me, did you hear about X? Did you hear the government shut down? I go to Twitter. I don't open up the newspaper. I don't go searching it in Google. I go to look for what's happening and what people are saying in real time. Now, here's a company that gets it, JetBlue. Now, again, I don't have a lot of time, so I'm not going to tell you my JetBlue story, which is an awesome story. Okay? You guys can come to me later. I'm going to tell you all about it, but the bottom line is they are listening every day. They've built their brand using engagement and interaction, and guess what? They're not solving your problems. They're not taking a plane off the runway because 100 of us are on the plane complaining. But what are they doing? They're making us feel good because social media is more about listening than anything else. Mark my words, I was the CMO of Elf Cosmetics. I worked in an aspirational brand. There is no social media without women. It ceases to exist. Okay, guys, we don't communicate that way. We talk at each other. I'm not paying attention to a word you're saying when you're saying it to me. All I'm thinking about is what I'm going to say next and what I get to get in, right? Tell me the truth, women, right? When you talk to your husbands or your boyfriends, all you want is for us not to be looking over your shoulder at the ESPN scores, but to actually be paying attention. Women communicate. There's not a guy in this room, I don't care who he is, that's going to go shopping, take a picture of his shirt, send it out to 10 of his friends, ask their opinions, poll the answers, make a decision, take it home, and then their bestie's going to call them and go, and have to take it back to the store. Doesn't happen. So, and women, it's a really good thing that social's about women because women control 85% of the purchases in this country. They probably control the other 15% because most of the decisions we make as men, we make based on trying to impress women. Or trying not to get on their bad side if we're married to them. Right? I mean, that's the way it is. So JetBlue listens. They communicate. They have a team of 27 people that watch every single mention in social. And they've been doing this since 2009. Dwayne Reed gets it. Full disclosure, I represented Dwayne Reed for 2 years at Collective Bias. When we started working with Dwayne Reed, they had 900 Twitter followers. There are 200, for those of you that don't know, they're a 250-store regional chain in the New York area, now owned by Walgreens, 8,000 stores. They now have over 1.1 million Twitter followers. They have an interactive following. And guess what? They've got case studies that show they drive sales at retail. It can be done. I can show you 10 to 15 of those case studies for different brands. Because if you communicate with people, if you add value to their lives, if you give them a reason to come back, and it's not just about what you think your brand is about, because you know your retail consumer, you probably at this point know your digital consumer, because we're calling it traditional retail now. Traditional digital, aren't we? Traditional digital. That's kind of scary. But I'll tell you, in this room, there's probably very few people that know their social customer and know the passion points of that social customer and what they're thinking. I wear funky socks. Okay, it's become part of my brand. There's not a day that goes by that if I don't publish my socks, people in my audience reach out and say, "Where's Ted's socks?" Now, I didn't figure that out in a brainstorming session. I didn't sit in a room and say, "Hey, what can I do to get people to pay attention to me?" I wore fun socks. People started taking pictures of them. I was listening. They started sharing them. I noticed they were sharing them. I started sharing, and they started sharing more. So I jumped through it, and I keep doing it, and I'll keep doing it until they start getting tired of it. And this is what we did at Dwayne Reed. We figured out the passion points of their consumers was being a part of being a New Yorker, of seeing the skyline in the morning, of talking about events that were happening in the city, not pharmacy products, not the latest deodorant, and not discounts. Throw those in when they're appropriate, but that's not how we build relationships. Social media, back one. Social media drives engagement. Engagement drives loyalty, and loyalty correlates directly to increased sales. ROR, return on relationship, will equal ROI. And I like to talk a lot about kids. It's another thing that's one of my favorite subjects. Because if we don't start thinking like children again, we're never going to have the right creative mindsets to move forward in the future because things are changing way too fast and our minds are way too slow. Think about kids. Think about teenagers. Think about how quickly they adapt to what you do with them. When you put a roadblock in front of them, how quickly do they find their way around it? Because their minds are open and they're not afraid to come up with ideas. You ever walk into a room with the kids building blocks? Ever go to a children's museum and watch the way they say, "Hey, let's try this"? You never hear another kid say, "That's stupid." And if they do, they say, "Who cares? Let's try it." But most of the people in this room are probably afraid when they're in a room to voice their opinion because maybe what they're saying isn't smart enough. Stop worrying about being smart. Start making recommendations. Start trying things. When someone asks me what's the ROI of social media, I ask them back, what's the ROI of trust? And what's the ROI of loyalty? Because every CEO understands lifetime value of a customer, understands average order value, and understands frequency of purchase. And these are all things that will be affected every single day if you connect and build relationships and do what I call looking people in the eye digitally. You're all taught that, right? When you meet somebody, look them in the eye. Pay attention to them. If you first date you go on, what does your mom tell you? Dad, I'm not sure, but look her in the eye. Make sure she knows you're listening. Okay? So you might say, how do you do that? Online. But you can do it every day. Call people by name. Look at their profiles. How many of you guys actually go to the people who are fans of your brand and look at their Facebook pages instead of waiting to see what they write on yours? That's what you have to be doing. Best social media book ever written. It's not Return on Relationship. It was written in 1936. Anybody have a clue? How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. If you haven't read it, read it. If you don't own it, buy it, put it on your iPad, put it on your iPhone, and start using it. Because he tells you to call people by name, to care about what they care about, to think of them first. You know what doesn't work for a social media strategy? Not being social. Anybody know what this is called? Come on, speak up. You guys have voices. Let's go. Come on. It's called an iPhone, right? What's the biggest word in iPhone? Don't say I. Everybody says I. Okay? Everybody has this. You guys have apps on your phones? Anybody have apps on their phones? Well, this phone comes with a really cool app that most of you guys don't even know it exists. You press a button, it's got numbers. And you can dial, you can press the numbers, it's usually 7 to 10 of them, and somebody actually answers the phone. You don't have to cry, you don't have to use emoticons to express emotion. You can actually hear the voices. Anybody here use phones anymore? Not very often, right? Your employees use them, they don't answer them. You want to know why? You want to know why guys love text? We love text because then we don't have to get off the phone with you guys. Right? When the women call us, when our wives call us, how was your day? My day was fine. Don't you have anything else to say? No. Now you can just answer in one word and get off. Same reason that you guys don't want to reach out to people because you're worried about picking up the phone and staying on too long. They're worried about you keeping them on too long. So make it easy. I'm going to challenge you guys with something. Pick up the phone every day for a month. Call somebody you haven't spoken to in a while. Give your mom a break. Say hello. Make it easy. Say, I'm just calling to see if there's anything I can do for you. And if they want to talk, talk. If not, say, great, have a nice day. This is what you can do to start building relationships. Start looking people in the eye digitally. And here's one more thing I want to tell you guys that's really important. I talk a lot about kids. Like I said, I'm a divorced dad. I try to key on my daughters whenever I'm with them. I listen to everything they say, but more importantly, I learn from them. I learned that kids default to happy instead of stressed. How many people in this room default to happy? I know kids break out into song. I know kids meet people and say, hi, my name is so-and-so. Want to come home and play today? To the bane of all mothers in America. Right? Okay, but here's the most important thing I learned from my daughters. I was divorced. I had a 5 and 7-year-old, and all they did was bicker. You ever have those kids in the back seat when one complains, Dad, she's smelling me? That's my favorite. Okay, the staring at me is one, but the smelling me. But what I learned is that when I wanted to make them happy, I grabbed them by the hands and I skipped. Because you can't not be happy when you're skipping. Now, you guys might be laughing at that, but when you start thinking about your consumers, when you start thinking about the touch points, and every time you deal with somebody, whether it be customer service, in-store, on the phone, if you can metaphorically make them skip with every interaction, there will always be a smile on their face and they'll always be feeling good, and I'm going to grab my beer and say goodnight. Thank you very much.